what finally got me out of my comfort zone and what finally got me into a place to where I was willing to go past, face my fear and then get past my fear was the fact that my comfort zone was no longer comfortable. It got to a point to where I knew I needed to move on. I knew that I needed to move forward, but my comfort zone was still comfortable. So I stayed. I stayed in my comfort zone way longer than I should have because it was still comfortable. It was that it was just what it wasn't until the moment when my comfort zone was no longer comfortable. In that moment when my comfort zone was no longer comfortable, that's what pushed me past my fear. That's what pushed me to face my fear and then eventually move past my fear was the thought of the one place where I thought I would be comfortable, it's no longer comfortable. And that's what pushed me. And so sometimes people have to get uncomfortable in their comfort zone to get out of their comfort zone. And sometimes that's just what it takes. And I was one of those people, like your words. And even though I knew that they were true, even though I knew and I understood, like, man, I'm setting myself up for failure. I know that it's going to come crashing down. And even though I knew these things, it did not matter because your words didn't move me enough. Your words weren't going to move me enough to get out of my comfort zone because my comfort zone just had me locked in a box like that. And I allowed it to happen. Like I allowed it to happen. My mindset, I was quick to doubt myself. I was quick to not believe in myself. All of that. So all of that just kind of worked together to put me in that box. And I stayed there. But once I got uncomfortable enough to where it was time to move out of my comfort zone, I realized whatever ceiling that I had put on my life or what type of expectations I put on my limits were just self-imposed and there really was no limits. I know now that as long as I'm willing to make the sacrifices I need to make and I'm willing to work and put the work needed in to whatever it is I'm trying to do, I can achieve whatever it is that I want to achieve because I understand to go places I've never been. I have to put in work and do things that I've never done. And to get out of places where I've always been, I have to stop doing things that I've always done. And you know what I'm saying? It is such a simple concept when you think about it. But when your comfort zone has a hold on you or when you just doubt yourself, it's like it didn't matter. I could know that you were right. I could know like this is where I was in life. I was that person who you could tell me, hey, you want the path that you're on is going to lead to nothing but trouble. And I can know that you're right. But the work that I would put in, the work that I would have to put in to get on this other path and to stay on this other path, I just wasn't willing to do. So I was willing to take that path and deal with the trouble and deal with the downfall of what came with staying on that path. My problem was that was one of my problems. My other problem was I wanted to blame everybody else once the downfall happened. Once everything that people told me were going to happen, once it started happening, I wanted to get mad at everybody else but myself for staying on that path, even though people told me get off that path, put the work in and get onto another path. You know, I just wasn't motivated. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't motivated. People's words just were not motivating me. So even though their words made sense, and even though I understood where they were coming from, and like I said, even though, especially as I got older, I knew that they were telling me the truth, and I knew that it was going to get bad. It was going to get real dark, and it was going to get real bad for me. At some point, if I stayed on this path, I just didn't have the motivation to get onto to do the work to get onto another path so that way I could avoid it. So when it eventually happened, I would be mad at the world and I'd be mad at everybody else, but I would never take a look. I would never look in the mirror and take a look at myself and be like, but people told you not to do this. People told you to get off this path. People told you what was at the end of this journey and you just chose not to listen. You can't sit here and get mad at everybody else for your choices. And I did that for a long time until, you know, I had to finally look in the mirror. And so that's why I'm so big on looking in the mirror. That's why I'm so big on being accountable and holding myself accountable for the things that I do, because I didn't do it for the longest time. And I would just get mad at everybody else